Welcome to our series Farm to Fork. Today I'm taking you to Omemee, Ontario. We're going to McQuaid's Country Market, owned by Sarah and Mike McQuaid. So one fall day we find ourselves on Peace Road in Omemee, Ontario. And it's a wonderful day, it's a great day, and they've got a 1-hour corn maze. We made our way through the corn maze. We saw everything that the farm had to offer us, and it came to us. The delicious corn. So today we're going to be making a corn relish. It's a condiment that can be made any time of year, although it's traditionally made in the fall. So let's get started. So we start off with, you can either use fresh corn, or you can take the corn off the cobs in the fall when it is harvested and freeze it. So this is frozen corn from McQuaid's farm, and I took it off of the cobs. I froze it on a sheet pan, and then it's nice and it's not clumpy. It's beautiful corn. So we're going to be using that today to make the corn relish condiment. So you start off with, you can make as much or as little as your family wants. Now, in the day, you would make large batches because families were bigger, and we just did. We made sometimes 20, 25 jars of something. You should try to make what your family is going to use in a year. So today we're making a small batch. I've got about 8 cups of corn niblets here. I could lower this to 6 cups, and then we're going to add the other ingredients in proportion to what I have. So take a stock pot or a Dutch oven and add in your corn niblets. Now you heard them hit that pan because I've kept them frozen, and I did that because I wanted them to keep their shape. Now if this was right off the cob, it would work as well. The next thing we're going to add is red peppers. Now you can use a bell pepper. I have that in here. You can use a sweet pepper. The thing you want is red. I have a couple yellow in here, and this is only going to be used to add a little bit of pulp, a little bit of consistency, but remember, yellow corn, yellow peppers, it's not going to look really good in the jar. It's not going to be distinguishable from the corn. So we have the red pepper. We're going to put those in a food processor so that we get a nice chop. If you don't have a food processor, this whole thing is doable, just a little bit more work. So let's put that into the food processor. So I have probably about 4 cups of chopped red pepper. Now we want this in dice. We don't want this really fine, and you'll see that that just took a couple pulses. One pepper didn't want to give up its life, so we'll just set him aside, and you'll see what I have. I have it in pretty good chunks. This is going to cook down, and it's going to be a little bit softer. We're going to add that to our corn. That's a beautiful color. You know, it does happen in the fall, and that looks like fall. The next thing you're going to add is some washed and cut celery. Where's my blade? And you're going to add in about 4 to 5 white onions. Again, we're going to just put this into a food processor to dice it, but not to pulse it to a mush. And you see what we've got. We have got a nice diced up 4 onions and about 2 or 3 stalks of celery. Again, this is all your own preference of flavor. If you've never made it before, make it and see what your family likes. My family never thinks there's enough onion, so don't be shy with the onion. And then we add that. So here, this is the veg. This is what we've got to work with. Now, when we were on the farm, Sarah and Mike were discussing their farm, and they told us that one of their favorite things was lasagna. We're going to be visiting the beef farm portion of their farm, but the focus when we were there was the corn maze, and the corn was just beautiful. That's what made me think about this corn relish. Okay, so now I'm going to be adding in some flavorings and some vinegars. I've got a little list here because you just add whatever is on the list. You just add it in order. I'm going to add about a cup of cider vinegar. Don't use white vinegar. This one adds a nice little sweet flavor to it. 1 cup of cider vinegar, and we're going to add in about 6 tablespoons of sugar. You may see recipes that call for more sugar. You can add it later. I add it slowly. And then I'm going to add in about a tablespoon of pickling salt. Don't use regular salt. Pickling salt will allow your product to sit in the jars to be canned without any residue. Use pickling salt. And then we're going to use a mustard powder. We're going to put about 2 teaspoons in proportion to how much corn we have. You can add more. I add 2 heaping teaspoons. Remember, when you're reading a recipe, if you see teaspoons, that means a flat one. If you see heaping or rounded, and this one could be rounded. We're going to add in some black mustard seed. This permeates a nice flavor throughout the storage process. It also looks nice in the jars. You know what? I've got 1.5 teaspoons there. And then we're going to be adding some celery seed. I'm going to be adding in, I'll have to look because this is different proportions, 2 heaping teaspoons of celery seed. And this is your preference. If you would like to add some chili flakes, I do because it gives it a nice bite to it. If you're using it on a sausage on a bun, on a burger in the summertime, the chili flake comes out nice. I don't use a lot because it can overpower. So I use about a 1/4 teaspoon, just enough to give us a little bit of heat. And then you're going to have some turmeric, and that is 2 teaspoons. Look at that color. There's where your color comes in. We're going to let this cook. We're going to let this all marry and become, I've got a hot water bath going. We're going to let this all cook and work together and become a liquid. We're going to cook that down for a bit. When we come back, we're going to show you how to make this into a thick consistency for canning into a jar. Right now, we're going to take a short break. Welcome back. I'm Chef Connie Powers, and you're watching Farm to Fork on Rogers TV. Today I'm taking you on a tour to Peace Road in Omemee, Ontario, to Sarah and Mike's farm, McQuade Country Market. We started earlier before the break, we started our corn relish. Let's go back to it. I can hear it simmering. All right, at this point, the 6 tablespoons of sugar that we added were enough to release the juices and get it all to start simmering. I tasted it during the break, and this is at the point where you adjust the sugar to start making it into the sweet relish that you want. This is about 1 more cup of sugar to make it into a relish. So at this point, you've got some liquid forming. You're going to add 1 more cup of granulated sugar. It sounds like a lot, but remember this is a condiment, and often condiments are sweet. So we are going to start stirring it. Let me make note, if you are using a new spoon, you might be sorry because there's mustard in here and there's turmeric, and it does have a tendency to change the color of your tool. So let's just get that. Now you'll see that sugar immediately added that liquid that you want, and that is the yummy part. You can smell the celery seed, the mustard. You can smell all of those flavors. Now remember, this was frozen corn, and I had about 7 to 8 cups, and that is about a dozen. So when you strip it from the cob, you'll use about a dozen cobs, and you'll make about 7 to 8 cups. I froze it on a cooking sheet, and I'm making it from the frozen form. Okay, that sugar added the right amount of liquid that I want, but you have choices here. Some cooks decide to cook that down into a thick paste. My family has always thickened it with a little bit of cornstarch. Don't use flour, because if you use flour to thicken it, it tends to separate in the jars. If you put it in the fridge, it tends to make a division, which isn't appetizing, and honestly, it's not flavorful. So we're going to use the gluten-free form of cornstarch. I've got about 3 tablespoons in here, and I'm going to add about 3 tablespoons of water. All right, so we're going to whisk that together. Now, if you hear it's boiling or it's simmering, once it simmers, you can add this. Don't add it before it. If you've used cornstarch before, you'll know that it won't thicken it. Now, we're not adding a lot to make it a jelly-like consistency. We're adding just enough to thicken up the liquid in there so that it's really palatable and it's nice in your jars. All right, give it a little stir. Add in the cornstarch, and you'll see immediately you start having a thickened relish. And we're going to let that just cook ever so slightly. We're going to let that simmer on a low. I'm going to turn my heat down. Now, what I've got is a hot water bath, and I've got some jars sterilizing. This amount will make about 6 pints. Again, I don't fill my pantry really full. I fill it with what we'll use in a year. So that looks really nice, and the gloss is coming out in it. So if you look down into the pot, you'll see that it's turning glossy because of the sugar, because of the cornstarch. It's brilliant in color. This is going to be beautiful on your pantry. So we're going to go on the tour right now. When we come back, this will have cooked down a bit, and I'll show you how to put it into some sterilized jars and to process it in a water bath. Let's go see McQuaid Country Market. Welcome to our series Farm to Fork. Today we are on Peace Road in Omemee at McQuaid's Country Market. We're going to go and meet Sarah and Mike and see what they have to show us. This is so cute. Let's go in. So this is McQuaid's Country Market Farm Store. It's on site on Peace Road in Omemee. What do we have here? Ooh, red pepper and garlic jelly. We've got some dill beans. We have
Chloe and Michaela.
This is a fun agri-tourism event. Let's go see what that's all about. This is Sarah and Mike McQuaid. They are the co-owners and co-operators of this farm. They have an agri-tourism event going on, so they have a maze that families can come to. This farm store sells really some nice products. We're going to have them take us to the maze, but first of all, tell us a little bit about the farm. How many acres do you have here?
This one's 200 acres.
200 acres, that's a big farm.
Yeah.
And so what livestock do you have?
So we have a beef cattle operation. That's his baby.
That's yours, okay.
Yeah. And then I am in the agri-tourism doing the corn maze, and we do like a pumpkin patch and all that kind of stuff too.
And you're also part of the Farm Fest that's coming up October 7th.
Yes, we are, yes.
Now, by the time this airs, that Farm Fest will have gone by.
Yep.
But is this your first year as a Farm Fest participant?
It is our first year, yes.
And it could be a second year coming up.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great because you offer such a fun event, and it's a great place for families to come.
It absolutely is.
How big is the maze?
So the maze itself is 9 acres. Yes.
Can anybody do the whole, no, you can't do the whole maze.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been taking people an average about an hour to get through the whole thing.
Have you lost anyone yet?
Yep, 3 families we had to go in.
Okay, the question the cameraman has is, what happens if you get lost? How do they notify you?
So we track their times coming in.
Okay.
So after a certain amount of time, if they're not out within like an hour and a half, we'll go in and find them.
Okay,
Yes.
well, we're going to go in it and see. But first of all, are you first generation, or I read someplace that you're the
Third generation beef farmer, yeah.
Okay, that's amazing. And is this your grandfather,
Yeah.
then your dad, and then you? And are there any children that will be?
Our son Cody, yeah. So he'll be the 4th generation.
There are 3 different types of regenerative agriculture you use here. Now, you're part of the Ontario Beef
Ontario corn-fed.
Corn-fed, right. And then there was the
Verified Beef Production Plus program that we're in.
Okay.
Canadian Sustainable.
Canadian Roundtable for Sustainable.
That's the one that really I've never heard about.
CSRB.
There are 3 components to your, or 3
Yep.
components to your beef operation. Can you explain those 3?
So basically being in these programs means there's a third-party audit just to ensure that you're doing all the things that you're supposed to be doing,
That makes sense, yes.
that the cattle are cared for in a sustainable way.
And it does say that on your website. It says
Yeah.
like this ensures that
Yeah.
our cattle are being cared for or are being
Yes.
raised in a sustainable way.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what does it mean to be part of that? How does that an assurance for the consumer?
Those programs are third-party audited, so they come in a couple of times a year and they just ensure that the cattle are fed and cared for in a way that is sustainable
And ethical.
And ethical.
How many head of cattle do you have?
we have 3,000 capacity here. This time of year we're a little lower in numbers, just they're not quite available during the summer months, and we just finished shipping a lot of fat cattle out, so
Okay.
it's a lot of empty barns at the moment. But
So you don't keep them all on this property then? You have,
yep,
Yep,
here.
they're all here.
so they pasture here, they graze here?
We have other ranches, but they're finished here. They come back here to finish on grain.
Okay. And is there any new cattle right now? Like, are you?
Not till October.
October.
1st of October,
Yeah.
the new ones start to come in.
Well, that's great. It's a big farm.
Yeah.
And so, what's your season like? When did you just said you sent some to the processor?
Yeah, we've been shipping fairly steady the last two months, so kind
And how can the consumer access that? They can access it here at your farm store.
We're just starting to get into the online
Yep,
sale type thing. But then anywhere like that you see the sticker Ontario corn-fed beef, that is a verification that like it could have came from here, or
Okay.
there is 500 families in that program type thing, so it could have came from one of their farms as well.
So, do you have a CSA program, a meat box, or are you processing to send to bigger sales?
No, for like on farm, we can do anywhere from like small orders. So say if somebody just wants like 2 steaks for the weekend,
Okay.
they can come and grab that, or they can even get a whole steer if they want.
Or quarter steer,
yeah,
half
and
steer.
they can do custom cutting, everything like
So
that.
they would just reach you through your website
Yep,
or come to the farm.
yep.
Hi, Gloria.
Hi.
We're going to go into the corn maze. We're hoping not to get lost. This is Mike's mom, Gloria, and she's going to take us in. Now, she times you, so if you don't come out in, like, say, an hour, she knows you may be lost. So let's hope we can do it. You were telling me that you are a farmer. You were grown up.
Yeah.
You were raised on a farm.
Yeah,
And
so
what
ever
kind of
since
farm
I was a
that?
my mom and dad had a beef farm as well. So same thing. They used to do freezer beef orders, and they used to sell cheese.
So what's the breed of these?
These ones are Charolais.
Okay. They are waiting to be loaded up, and
Yeah.
these will be processed.
Yeah.
Well,
We'll ship these ones by like end of October.
oh, is that much? And do you artificially inseminate, or do you have a bull? Oh,
We buy light calves from the west.
okay,
I sell Black Angus beef.
great.
Yeah.
People want that.
Yeah.
They do, yeah.
So, and then the stuff that would get shipped to the grocery stores, and it would be these guys and like your Red Angus crosses and stuff like that.
Okay, that's
yeah, but mine is strictly the Black Angus beef.
Is it certified organic, or is it just organic? It's
Just
not
certified. It's certified, but it's not organic.
Oh, okay. Like some farms go through that certification process.
Yeah.
But
That way
not very
you would
many.
need like organic corn and all that kind
That's
of
right,
stuff.
that's
and
right.
Yeah, so
Sarah, thank you so much for agreeing to let us come on your farm on a Monday like this.
thank you so much for coming.
Well, it
especially with this heat.
The heat, but I know that this is your business, and to bring us on here takes an element of trust. So thank you very much for allowing us on your property.
Anytime. I'm glad you guys came out.
Thank you. And we're back. That was a great tour. Now, when we attended, that was a couple weeks before the Farm Fest, the celebration that takes us to different farms in the Kawartha Lakes. So you can see the corn maze was at its greatest, and it was a really amazing yet slightly scary thing to go through. You need to check them out. Go see that corn maze, because they put hours and hours of work into it, and it's all worth it for us. So we are going to continue on with the corn relish in the whole theme of corn. What I've done right now is I'm taking my jars, my sterilized jars, out of the hot water bath. Now, I know it's not in camera reach, but I've got a huge kettle of water that is going to process these jars later. So what I'm showing you right now is that these jars, and you can see the steam, they're coming out. They've been boiling for about 20 minutes, and that's one way to do them. It's the way my grandmother taught me, and I think it's the safest. So I've got about 4 pints and a half pint. I took the half pint because you might be interested in a smaller amount at a time. So we will now just use a funnel, and we will scoop the hot product into the hot jar. I'm going to turn the heat right off because it is cooking nicely. And then I just start ladling the corn relish into the jar. Make sure that I distribute enough of the liquid. Now, you want to leave about a 1/4 inch headspace at the top, and I've got that. And then just take a clean cloth, make sure there's nothing on your edge that will compromise the seal, a warmed lid, and a ring. Now, what I'm going to show you is I have the rack in my water bath. So I'm going to take that out, and I start lining up my jars in the rack. I'm going to fill the other 2. I'm going to lift this. I'm going to carefully put it into the hot water bath, and I'm going to process these for 10 minutes. What that means is you're going to let the water come to a full boil, start timing 10 minutes. When 10 minutes is up, you stop it, you take them out, you leave them on a dry place, a cool place in your kitchen, and you wait to hear that snap, and that means it's sealed. I hope you enjoyed making corn relish with me today. I hope you enjoyed the tour of Sarah and Mike McQuaid. You'll see that in the video we go over to the beef farm. And the beef farm is where you're going to see the 600 to 2,000 head of cattle. It's beautiful. So there's the corn, there's the country market, and then Mike and his family is taking care of the Black Angus beef. It is a full farm, and it is worth a trip out there. Thanks for showing up today. Until next time, keep cooking.